The Nintendo Wii definitely has some of the strangest accessories. You have your Wii Zapper, Wii Bowling Ball, this thing, even a vitality sensor that never saw the light of day. However, one that is usually brought up in the conversation is the UDraw Tablet created by THQ. Hey everyone, I'm Anton, and in this video we are going to be diving into the development, hardware, software of the peripheral on how everything went wrong. Anyways, let's get started. THQ is a company that has published a lot of games on a variety of consoles dating back quite a while. Most of these games are usually based off movies or shows and are usually found deep in the bargain bin. THQ was really successful with this strategy, especially by using popular IPs from Nickelodeon and DreamWorks to make cheap, low-budget games. I'm not saying that all of these games are necessarily bad, but most of these were made for a quick buck. The biggest outlier is probably SpongeBob SquigglePants Battle for Bikini Bottom, which has a lot of effort put into it, and is really good. Since the Wii hype was slowing down, and THQ started to lose a lot of money for a number of reasons, they needed a brilliant idea quick. So they came up with one to create a one-of-a-kind drawing tablet for the Nintendo Wii. THQ pitched the idea to Nintendo, and they received a terrific response, and the full support of them. This partnership was so strong in fact that Nintendo brought their hardware design and manufacturers on board as well. Within a year, they were able to create a high quality game tablet that is solid, slick, and most importantly, affordable. Even more surprisingly is that Nintendo worked with THQ to enable saving your artwork to an SD card, which many third-party developers didn't have access to. In August 2010, THQ revealed the UDraw Tablet for the Nintendo Wii. Analysts predicted that the Wii UDraw Tablet would be able to sell more than 1 million units, which would be a great success for THQ. They showed it off at Gamescom 2010 and it was praised for its clean interface and accessibility. EL338T Online wrote, "The game tablet could very well be the accessory to jumpstart the next wave of Wii buying, much like the Balance Board and Wii Motion Plus have done. The game tablet itself is a hardy device, which would enable games like Scribblenauts to come to the Wii. I certainly hope so and look forward to continued innovation from THQ, who are demonstrating how to effectively partner with Nintendo to create future gaming experiences." Later on in the year, THQ announced the release date for November 14th, 2010, right in time for the holiday season. The tablet would be bundled with Udraw Studio for $70. Pictionary and Dude's Big Adventure would be the other launch titles sold separately for $30 each. Along with the release date and price, THQ also mentioned that more titles are in development for the UDraw Tablet, which was nice to have some reassurance of. The launch of the UDraw Tablet and games were a success, and the tablet was able to sell 1 million units during the holiday season. Many critics praised the accessibility and quality of the product and how it could evolve into something bigger with more software. Because of the success, THQ immediately got the ball rolling to create versions for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. These versions were released a year later, and they also released a new bundle for UDraw for Wii that came with Udraw Studio Instant Artist, which is an upgraded version of the original bundled title. There's also a nice black version that was released too, to match the black Wii. However, THQ got way too ahead of themselves, and they produced way too many units that didn't sell. The peripheral was released at a time when devices like the iPad started to become popular and more accessible. Also, the peripheral and games cost THQ around $100 million to make, so the fact that they didn't make a profit led to some cuts in the company. After the last batch of software was released, they cancelled featured UDraw projects, including a Disney Animator application, and stopped manufacturing the UDraw tablets for all systems in 2012, so it was definitely a short lifespan for the UDraw tablet. Soon after that, they stopped support of the UDraw website and abandoned it altogether. Soon after, THQ hit some hard times. After a few large mistakes, and most of their shovelware not selling well, especially due to the end of the Wii's life cycle, THQ filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy and held an auction to keep the company together and sell off its assets. Many of the studios in THQ were then sold off to many third-party developers, including Sega, Ubisoft, and Crytek. And also due to this liquidation, some of the studios ended up shutting down completely. So anyway, let's take a look at this thing. This is the Wii UDraw Tablet, a rectangular white tablet that has a pressure-sensitive stylus for accurate drawing. You have to press down on the pad in order to draw anything, so it doesn't work like a modern drawing tablet. You connect the cable inside the slot to the bottom of the Wii remote. It's very easy, and once you do that, it should work perfectly fine. It's nice that they give you the full access to all of the buttons on the Wii remote, including the B button on the back. You also have 2 buttons on the pen that make it really easy to interact with the games. And lastly, there is a hole at the top right corner to place the stylus in. Even if the unit is a little bit bulky, it is still really high quality and sturdy, but at the same time light and comfortable to grip. The tablet does actually feel like an innovative Nintendo quality product, and the materials and colors definitely convey that message. Also, the tablet does use the motion sensors from the Wiimote, which we will get to see in action in a little bit. Of course, this thing is nothing without the games, so let's take a look at some of them. First, you have UDraw Studio. This software is the first bundled software that came with the UDraw for the Nintendo Wii. The main thing that you can do is paint, and you can find that in paint mode, where you can create original paintings by choosing a canvas, multiple colors, paint size, and stamps. There are effects, which include faded painting, flipping, negatives, sharpen, and glow. It's a lot of really cool things that you could do here. Paintings can thankfully be saved to the gallery. They can be snapshotted and even replayed, so you can watch over your art process. And you can export your artwork to the SD card. There are coloring pages included too, just in case you want to do something different. There are surprisingly a lot of tools to use, and the tablet is really great to use. I'm not a big fan of the menus in this one, and the GUI does seem a little cheap, with terrible looking icons. And the device can take a while to get used to the sensitivity, but honestly for the Wii it is really great, and a functional application. Overall, UDraw Studio gets a 6.5 out of 10 for it allows you to create art, but not in the most efficient way. A year or 2 later, like I previously mentioned, they followed up UDraw Studio with a sequel called UDraw Studio Instant Artist. This is a hugely improved version of its predecessor, which has a lot of quality of life changes, more features, and includes a lot more minigames and modes. The GUI is much cleaner and higher quality, with it not being an awkward pop-up menu like before. Now it surrounds the canvas section, allowing you to easily access it. There is an art school mode, which teaches you some helpful techniques, and it's really easy to follow along with. I was really surprised at how intuitive and simple it is, and it was actually really well designed. And it has voice acting too, which is not bad at all, and I was really surprised with it. These lessons aren't exactly advanced or anything, but for beginners, and people who just want to draw something basic or learn some basic skills, these are really good. There is also a camp mode, which has some mini games, and also some coloring book features. First, you have Tilt Maze. In this mode, you have to tilt the UDraw tablet to move the ball on screen. The idea is that you need to keep the ball painted at all times, which is a really cool idea. If the paint runs out, then it's game over. You also have tilt coloring, which is basically the same thing, just without a maze. And there's also a free play mode too, in case you just want to roll the ball around and paint some random abstract images. And for the last minigame, you have a blatant ripoff of the Mario Paint Fly minigame. However, instead of flies, it's these weird things, not sure what they are, paint bulbs maybe? Once you fill up the bar, there is a boss, which is just thrown on screen and immediately kills you. But these minigames are a great addition to the overall experience and offer extra content, which is really appreciated. Overall, I give UDraw Studio Instant Artist a 7.5 out of 10. For it really is a great improvement over its predecessor, and is really solid and a great application. Next, we have Pictionary. This is surprisingly a really good version of Pictionary. It gets the job done, and especially with the UDraw tablet, It's really great to share it between friends and family. Personally, I don't really like the aesthetic of the game, and it seems really cheap and way too busy, and they honestly could have toned down the explosions and all the animated models. The drawing is really good and quite useful with the UDraw tablet. However, one big complaint is that as you draw, the lines become more blurry as time goes on. This makes it really annoying to draw anything, as you keep on having to retrace it all the time. I don't know why they did this, as pencils don't really do this in real life, so that's probably the biggest complaint. This is really a great game that justifies the use of the accessory, which is why it gets a 7 out of 10. Next, we have Dude's Big Adventure. This game is honestly a really generic platformer game that has 4 different modes. You have a run and jump mode, a ripoff of Sonic the Hedgehog, the one level from Super Mario Galaxy where you have to move the bubble around, and the balloon power-up from Super Mario World. It really doesn't use the UDraw tablets all that well, and could have been developed without it at all. The main gimmick that's in this game is that you can draw on character models to customize them. This doesn't work particularly well because first of all, the resolution is a disaster, and second of all, it's really hard to turn around the model and draw, and it just seems way too clunky as there are not a lot of tools either. The game doesn't use the Wii remote either, which makes it even more clunky and frustrating. Also, some of the models have really low resolution textures that aren't that good, so it makes the game really terrible, and other than that, there's not much to this game. It's nice that there are 60 levels in the game, but they reuse most of the same assets over and over again, and the same 3 enemies over and over again. Overall, not the greatest game, and if they had a level editor or something more to justify the use of the gamepad, then it would have been a lot cooler. And this is just another gimmick game that could have been done without the need for the peripheral at all. Overall, this game gets a 5.5 out of 10. Finally, the best game for the UDraw tablet is probably SpongeBob SquigglePants. This game is a WarioWare clone, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it's really good. The graphics are really nice with different art styles for each level. The microgames are really good with the use of the UDraw tablet and motion controls. The music is actually really good, and most importantly is that we get an appearance from Pounchy the Pirate. However, this game is available on the Nintendo 3DS as well, so it's not technically exclusive to the UDraw accessory, and is not really tied to it because of the 3DS version. Overall, this is probably the best game on the UDraw tablet. I mean, there's not much competition, but that's why it gets a 7.5 out of 10. That's not all for the THQ name. On June 12th, 2014, Nordic Games acquired the THQ brand, allowing them to publish titles under the name. In 2016, the studio ended up being renamed as THQ Nordic to associate themselves with a well-known brand, where they now create games and have access to many IPs, including now Nickelodeon's mini franchises, which is why games like SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated is possible. So it's great that THQ is back in some way. So, what do I give to the UDraw tablet accessory? Well, I give it a 7.5 out of 10, for it is a high quality product that offers a new control option for the Nintendo Wii, and works as intended. The pressure sensitivity works as it should, and with the Wiimote it works great with motion controls. However, it can feel a bit clunky at times, and the fact that you have to press down on the pad with the stylus to draw is quite awkward when comparing it to a modern drawing tablet. But then again, this accessory was ahead of its time and is impressive. Well, anyways guys, that brings us to the end of the video. If you did enjoy it, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button to see future content from the channel, as it always helps out, as these videos do take a while to make. And let me know what you think of the UDraw game tablet and games down below. Have you played any of them before? Are my opinions totally wrong? Let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next one.